CMC turns 27 on June 7th, right? So, like, basically a month from today is his birthday, about to turn 27. And he has just been nuts. One of the stats that they shared on the Ringer fantasy show was if you look at Christian McCaffrey in games that he finished and didn't get injured or whatever, 38 consecutive games with at least 100 total yards or a touchdown. 38 consecutive games. That is crazy talk. Just how productive he has been on some poor teams. But whenever he joined the 49ers, holy cow, went off the charts. 12, won 12 games, dominated all of them. I think 9 were 10 points or more. Like, they weren't even close. And if you look at like games that were within a touchdown or less, it was only 2. So, like, just blew the doors off everybody until Purdy got hurt, right? But dude's a baller. Let's look at what he did last year collectively, because I want to go through. I had fun doing this, by the way. I wanted to go through other aging running backs in the NFL and how they're doing. So, and compare that to Christian McCaffrey, then look back at previous running backs that were older than 28 and how they did, and see where CMC fits with that. CMC had 1,880 total yards last year with 13 touchdowns combined. If you bring together what he did in Carolina and then what he did for the 49ers, and that's just the regular season, 1,880 total yards. That's crazy. That's a lot. So now other running backs, Derrick Henry just turned 29. And he's an anomaly for sure. He had 1,936 total yards last year. Nick Chubb just turned 27, so he's kind of in that CMC mold. But again, he's a dominant runner. He's okay in the passing game, but not Christian McCaffrey. Nobody is. He had 1,764 yards last year. Dalvin Cook just turned 27, 1,468 total yards. Jamal Williams, I thought he was interesting. 28 last year. He had 1,139 yards, but 17 touchdowns. The dude was awesome. Now he's over in the Saints. Curious to see what that's going to look like. And the last one was Austin Eckler. And I thought he's probably the most CMC relatable because pass catcher first, right? He turned 28. He had 1,637 total yards with 18 touchdowns last year. Just, awesome. So my question is, the NFL doesn't value running backs. And I feel like, the Lions enter into this question big time because, I understand taking Bijan top 10 because I think he's a generational talent. I have him rated higher than Saquon Barkley. I did not have Jahmyr Gibbs close to that, but they took him 12, right? But my question is this. We've bought into this idea that running backs hit this wall and die off. But man, I just gave 6 running backs last year that were 27 or older that are still putting up some elite numbers. I don't know. Not saying I discount that, but I'm wondering if the 49ers, they 100% buy into this. CMC could play for a minute. And that he's not even close to reaching his end. The restructure tells that, and we're going to detail what that looks like. But let's look back at some of the historical great years from running backs that were, older, right? You got to start with Frank Gore, the man. That dude was 28 years old. At 28, he continued to have 7+ after 28, 1,200+ yard seasons. Now, you can bet on Frank Gore and having the next Frank Gore all you want. You're going to be wrong every time. How many guys are going to have 1,200+ yard seasons whenever they're 35 years old at the running back position? I don't know. We were so wrong. We were so wrong on moving off of Frank Gore, but that's okay. Steven Jackson, his 28 and 29 years of age, he put up 1,478 yards, then 1,366. Curtis Martin is kind of one of the biggest ones. But this is back in 2001, so this is a long time ago. But he had 4 consecutive years after age 28 with over 1,450 yards. And his best year came at age 31, where he had 1,942 total yards. Like, dude just dominated, right? So my question is, CMC is about to turn 27 next month. We have him under contract till 29, his 29-year-old season. Now, the restructure came out right before the draft, like literally day one, they announced the restructure. And so it kind of got buried with all the draft content. But I went back and looked up all the details of this new deal. And it's interesting. So initially, he had a $12 million cap hit with no money guaranteed. The Niners lowered that from $12 million this year to $3.4 million. So a lot of extra cap space there, right? Next year, 2024, he'll be 28. He's got a $14.1 million cap hit. I have no qualms. I have zero regard for that year. I have no problem with Christian McCaffrey this year, next year. The question comes into play that 2026 year. The 2025 year. He'll be 29 years old, and he's got a $14.3 million cap hit. Plus, there is a void year that was added in the restructure for 2026, so he's not going to be on the team, but he counts for $4 million against the cap. And the Niners keep doing all these void years, trying to preserve this base, extend this window by kicking a little bit of the cap down the road. But yeah, my question to everybody here: do you guys put a percentage on it? Okay, let's do this. Okay, it's 2023. Next year's 2024. 3 years, the last year of CMC's deal. What percentage of confidence do you have that CMC can still play at this level when he is 29 years old in 2025? I want to know a percentage, right? So, like, you're 80% confident that he can play at this level 3 years from now. It's a 50-50. Man, running backs hit the wall, I think a 10% chance. I'm curious. In your opinion, throw this up in the chat because I want to spend some time on this. What is your percent of confidence in CMC from 3 years from now? And I know Kyle Shanahan's out there like, we don't even know if we're going to be alive on Sunday. But I think the restructure is interesting because I'm fine betting on CMC this year. That's easy. Next year, fine. 3 years? Ugh. Yeah, we're seeing some of the numbers. David says 65, Shot J 75, Sean 50% or under because we overload him. He does get a lot of carries. But whenever we look at those names of the guys that are currently playing, Derrick Henry, Chubb, Cook, Jamal Williams, those guys are between the tackles runners, every single one of them. Dalvin Cook's probably the most outside. But then you look at guys like Eckler and Kamara. I think he's a little bit more of that because he does so much pass catching. But it's not like, let me pull up. I think I have it here. He's still getting a lot of work in the running game. There's no doubt about it. How many carries did he have this past year? Yeah, 244, which that's a lot less, actually. I don't know. I might be a little more bullish on him than previous. I mean, he was 9th in the NFL in carries. But again, these guys we talked about, Derrick Henry had 349, Chubb 302, Cook 264, Jamal Williams 262. Of everybody we mentioned, he's way below on carries. Eckler had 204, so I guess not everybody. But that's one thing that's interesting. Like, where do these touches come from? If the Niners can preserve, I don't know if Shanahan's capable of doing this, but if you can keep him below 250 carries a year, that'll help. Now, this does, we're assuming he stays healthy, but, if you look at his career, I mean, rookie year, played every game. Second year, played every game. 2019, every game. Got injured in 2020, re-aggravated 2021. Last year, played every game. So in 4 out of 6 of his years, he's played every game. He's had one injury, and he kind of re-aggravated it, I believe. I could be wrong on that. But 2020 and 2021, those were his injured years. Outside of that, he's played every game. He ain't missed one. Sean, he says, need to make sure to take more and more passes and mix in Mason more this year. Yeah, I really do. I really, really do hope that they trust somebody. I know Elijah Mitchell's the guy they want to be that guy. They love Mitchell, but again, he's, health, that's a major concern that for him. But I want Shanahan to trust somebody else. And especially during the season, like I get fourth quarters and I'm fine first quarters too, but like you got to mix in some other guys. And David says, he might evolve into more of a slot wide receiver later in his career. I remember when CMC came out, I said he would be the number one slot wide receiver in this class if he was just a wide receiver. And I think that the tape and everything that's come out has proven that. I mean, good gosh, he's got 442 catches in his career. Dude's just crushing. He had 85 receptions last year, which isn't even the second most in his career. Oh, I'm excited, man. Shot J says, if you look at the history, he's only got injured the year after they completely ran him through the ground and beyond. His body never got the chance to recover until we snagged him. Yeah, the year after he got hurt, he had 403 touches, 2,392 yards, 19 touchdowns. AP Offensive Player of the Year, first team All-Pro, Pro Bowl, all those things. Yeah, 403 touches. Last year he had 329, second most in his career. I don't like that. I do want that number to go down. I do want that number. I would like to keep that close to 300 total touches. I'm cool with that. But more than the total touches is the rush attempts. Rush attempts got to be watched. And we're getting some of the drafted free agents, baby. Yeah, you gotta buy in, man. Everybody's got to buy into one. You got to have an undrafted free agent running back that you like. So that's some CMC talk. I am curious to see what's going to go on there, but the cap numbers are interesting. This year, next year, ice cold, baby. No concern. That 29-year-old season in 2025, that's going to be something to watch.
The 49ers Rush Podcast.